Very glad to have you here. Glad to have a pretty sunshiny day. Let's just keep these going. We're actually very fortunate, but we had those little blips like last week, and we just think, oh no. And I feel really bad when I feel that way. I lived in Minnesota for 9 years before moving here. Why? You kind of get used to where you are, and we're fortunate to have such a beautiful area. Well, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, I'm Virginia Lazenby. I am the founder and host of the Seniors Living Smarter seminars. I am a realtor and downsizing coach. And that's how I came about having the seminars. Working with people I worked with, or just conversations. I just could see there was such a need for people to have information. And so if you're concerned about it, step up and do it. So this is our 7th year of the seminars. That's been an interesting journey. We started back at the public library. We were there for a year. And then we moved to First Presbyterian. And we were down in the lower the lower area. We were there for a few months. And then we moved up to their older, beautiful sanctuary and the COVID camp. And so in First Presbyterian, this parking is a challenge there. And so coming out of COVID, it was just advantageous to find a place that would be a little bit easier for parking. But I always think it's fun to see who came to live seminars. How many of you started coming to live seminars? Yeah, a lot of you. That's great. Karen used to, by default or by emergency, she would become our tech person to help us with the mic over when we were downstairs at First Presbyterian. So anyway, but we were there. But then when we turned to Zoom for the last year and a half, we often saw different faces, well, I didn't see your faces. I saw your names. And it was a good learning for me. One of the silver linings of COVID and going virtual, Zoom, you can love it or you can hate it, all within 5 minutes. Jeff, who works with us and all this, I was a nervous wreck every virtual, with it really broadcasting. What's really happening here? Calm down, Virginia, and just go.
You didn't act like it.
Well, I'm glad. My stomach told me I did. So how many of you didn't come live before, but how many of you started coming during virtual seminars? Good.
Huh.
Sleepers, you're in a different category of your own. Okay, great. So now we're back live again. We hope to start live back last August. And then there were uncertainties around the starting of school and COVID, and we just decided to wait. So January 22 is our new year. So back to the seminars. The purpose of the seminars is to educate, equip, and inspire seniors to make everything less mixed up. Informed decisions and informed choices and empowered decisions. But have knowledge base. It's your life, you're responsible for it. You don't have to let your kids tell you what to do. They will tell some interesting stories. So along the way, we have invited, we just respond to the partners talk. Great. We have invited other local groups involved in the senior industry who share a commitment to education. To join us, we're calling sponsors now, they're educational partners, because that's really what we focus on. We're not here to market, because we'd love to form relationships and be able to work with you, but I want you to have information. So that's the reason we have our educational sponsors and educational partners, and they have tables set up over there, and I'm going to give a shout out to them, and they have, lots of other business and things going on, so they can't always be here every month, but it's a good time to meet these people. Obviously, their business is what they know a lot about, but they can also answer general questions in their field. So Wesleyan, and so today from the Wesleyan, We have Holly, I don't remember your last name. Oh, that should be easy to remember. Holly is with the Wesleyan. I remember we're so fortunate to have the Wesleyan here in Georgetown. And of course, we see their presence there in Williams Drive with independent living and assisted living and memory care. And now they have rehab and skilled nursing there. And they also have home health and home care too, and hospice. Talk about a one-stop place, you know. So if you need questions about that, I know some of you have visited over the last year, 2 years or so, with Christy Schuler, who's in the independent living and visits with people. So sometimes Christy's able to be here, or sometimes Holly is, but we thank Wesleyan for joining us in this venture. Vera Bank, Will Boughton is with us today. Need estate planning, need information about it, there's your person. Will and their whole group, very, very focused on serving seniors for asset management and planning ahead. And a great resource of information. So we're glad Will couldn't be here last month. We're delighted to have him with us. He likes our new arrangement too, so that's good. In the center here we had listed North Star Georgetown. They're not able to be here today. It's a new partner with us. Some of us were talking about that just before we started. North Star, a lot of you probably got a lot of mailings from North Star over the last year. It is an active adult community. Sun City is an active adult community. Those are independent, those are own, your own home. North Star are apartments. And so we're seeing more and more of those. We often think about independent living, just as Wesleyan has and others. But in the industry, we're seeing more and more people who are saying, I'm ready to give up home ownership. I don't want to worry about, am I going to have to have my roof replaced? Is a lawn crew coming or whatever? But I don't need someone to take care of me. I don't need meals. And so we have these 55 plus apartments. Some of you heard online earlier this year. One of our panelists, Mary Carter, moved to Affinity in Round Rock. And so we'll be learning more about those as we go along. But North Star just opened. We hope to organize it won't be a very long field trip to get out there, but we want to have a special time. So anyway, we're not able to have a representative today, but we'll in the future. Visiting Angels, a lot of you have been before. I've met Stacy Scarborough. That's your home care. Stacy had a family commitment today and couldn't be here, but I just still want to give a shout out to these people so that you know them. Would love for you to use their services when you have the need. And here's an important part. Not wait until you have the need. It's a little bit late to go find home care when you find yourself in the hospital and you're going home and you need somebody. You got to know those resources before. And that's why we want to join together to help you with those resources. And in your nifty binder, there is a page, my contact or my team. And you meet groups and this is who I want to work with. So start building your team, your resource list. Where would you like to go if you ever wanted to move? I always joke and talking with people in Sun City about, I'm never leaving for your machine, you're never leaving, but your friend might want the information. Your friend might be too close sometimes. So anyway, but we would like so Visiting Angels, again, know it ahead of time. You must ask questions. There are several other home care agencies and healthcare, home health. You got to make that distinction between home health and home care. And Holly can probably help with that if you have nothing with needing information or check with me. Seniors Living Smarter Services. Debbie Brockway will be at that table today. That is one. I'm a realtor on one hand, but I also have a downsizing business. I just see it so critical to make the transition as easy as possible. So with the downsizing business, we have new management, liquidation, property prep, put the whole thing together, and we get you with the right person to make it all happen. So thank you to our sponsors, and let's see where we go next. Okay. Real estate market update. This can be one of the more fun years to do this. Yeah, this can be one of the more fun years to talk about this topic. Sometimes this topic is not as exciting. But real estate this year has been very exciting, and that's what we want to share information with you about. Yeah, share that information with you today. Let's see, is that going to, all right. In one way or the other, we're going to be talking about these topics as promised on the postcard. Our market has been a complete frenzy, hyperactive. And, so people, what does this mean? It's going to continue? Is it going to fall flat? Is it going to be like the bubble of several years ago? So we're here to share information with you today. And part of that, we'll be sharing market stats. I'm not a statistician, but when you start looking at these numbers and you see patterns and graphs, it gets kind of fun. So we have included some of those resources in your binder. And then we have other, if you want to go online and see lots of numbers, we can give you those resources too. Now, I know there's the concern about when can we expect to change. No. And when's it going to fall flat? So I've got some great predictions from, I've really drawn the resources from the National Association of Realtors. Dr. Warren Toon is their chief economist. I've been on calls where he's been our speaker, and then I've pulled out the key points. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and glad to have you here with us. I think mortgage rates is always one of those big discussion points. Can you see this okay?
When you turn around, your voice goes that way, so I miss information. I don't know.
Okay, all right. I may need to go now. I'll try to show you. Moving so much. Yes, mortgage rates are at a record low. Yes, they're starting to go up. But folks, put it into context. I mean, some of us had 14% rates years ago. So going from 3 to even 4 you can't survive. But anyway, I just thought that was a fun chart from the National Association of Realtors that I wanted to call your attention to. All right, so as I said, 2021 was an amazing year for real estate. So the existing home sales for last year totaled 6.12 million, an increase of 8.5% from the previous year, the highest level of sales since 2006. And some of us are going, wait a minute, but how come there are no houses on the market? So it is that little interesting balance there. Brian Buffini, who is a realtor in California, has the largest coaching company in the country focused on real estate. And he makes bold predictions in November for the upcoming year. And it's funny, he was listening in on that session, he was saying that real estate was just so low, there were no homes. He compared it to real estate as being like the toilet tissue aisle during the year. Well, I gotta have it. I don't want to use these 36 rolls of toilet tissue, but it's going home with me. Sorry to the person behind me. But real estate became like that. There becomes to be a shortage, and people are rushing out to get it. And we're going to talk some more about the implications and the kind of caveats from that. Let's see, I think this one, I just thought this was an interesting piece. This is actually from December 2021. And so it gives us a big picture of, am I on the right way? Yes. This is from the national. We're going to zoom down to local and to county in just a minute. But if some of you are curious, I know some of you are numbers people and like to see how this all works together. But this is, as we just talked about the number of sales, you see that. We're going to be talking at different times about the inventory, because there's such low inventory. And then we do see the prices going up. But I don't think that one was in your book. The next one is, I just think it's a great graph. When you just look at that and you see the increase in prices from 2011 to 2021, so you see the bar graph and then the chart below looking at the volume and the sales prices. Prices are going up. And you gotta figure out how to balance some of that, but you can go back and study that if you're interested to see that. And then you're looking at yours quickly. Yeah, good. So the next page is the Georgetown Marketing Report. It's in your binder. And this is us. This is Georgetown. So the median price of homes went up 35.8%.
Holy cow.
Now 394,500. You gotta be at that. Depends on, if you're buyers now, you don't always like some of these numbers. I think most of you at some time are more interested in being on the selling end, and that's a whole different point there. So over here you see the price distribution. It's just amazing. It's just gone up so much. Active listings, closed sales, up 5.4%. Days on the market. Now you'll see the 3 lines there. How many days on the market? This is really, I think, kind of high, but over the average, it's right. That's how many days is a house on the market. By the market, we're referring to our multiple listing service. So when it goes active, till it goes under contract, considered pending, active under contract. The average for all of Georgetown was 16. Then often it's another, they're saying the average is another 40 days to close. It's kind of high again when you consider the whole average. That's that time from when you go under contract to when you close, when the buyer is getting their loan, and so on and so on. And so that takes a period of time. And sometimes it's taken longer just because of the volume for appraisers to get out for, whatever might be needed. There's been times when you can't just get them out that week. It's going to take longer. And so that prolongs that time. But I know that many of us say, well, the houses are going on the market like in a week. They're going under contract. You're right. How long is that going to continue? It's going to slow down a little bit. But, there's kind of been that feel, you put a house on the market on a Thursday, and by Tuesday it's under contract. And that's not been unusual. And believe me, those have been busy Thursday to Tuesday days. A lot of showing, often multiple offers. We're going to talk about that, make sure people understand what that means. So again, it's that frenzied activity. There's a house, yay! But you got to be careful that your buyer really knows what they're buying, and then they, I'm sorry, I don't like it after all, but I put money down because there was nothing else out there. So we're going to talk about how to manage some of that. And then the next page is, back to Williamson County market share. So if you want to go back and study that, I can put that in there. We have some people from outside of Georgetown, and some people like to have the larger perspective. Okay, let's see. So, now, looking ahead. Oh, by the way, we'll answer questions at the end. It's just easier if we get all the way through it. I mentioned about the speed of the market, and we are going to see that less frenzy. In a normal market, if there is such a thing, we would usually see on the market days 65 to 75 days. Not in other markets, it's not been unusual for it to be 120 days. But we have shrunk it down. And now it's less than 30 the expectation, this turns Dr. Lawrence Yoon with the National Association of Realtors, is we're just gonna have a little slowing. It's not a panic deal at all, but, you know, as a realtor, I'm gotten used to this Thursday to Tuesday, what a cool deal. And then when I have a house that's not under contract by Tuesday, it's like, what's wrong? It's been on the market for days. It may have some unique features, but anyway, so keeping everything in balance. Okay, yeah, so we'll actually talk more about the impact on buyers or sellers in just a minute. Mortgage rates, we looked a while ago, we've been at that kind of 3%. Yoon predicts that and these predictions were from November, so when we talk about 12 months out, it'll be the end of 2022. His predictions over the years have been very accurate. Will be probably about 3.7%. You know, they're having to balance that with inflation and interest rates, and if you want to have a lesson on economics, they'll come in, or I can give you a great website. But again, 3.7 in perspective is not that high, but it will impact the market to a degree. And home prices are expected to go up. Over the years, long run, it averages out to be 3% a year. We have some of those years where it's up much higher, and some years where it was lower. But an older gentleman who was my first mentor in real estate, over the long run, it's 3% increase. So that's kind of what this year. You know, I was reading something in Austin area, and you know, are we not in the Austin area? But Austin's increase would probably maybe be up to 4.5%. So, but the interesting part about pricing is when we have had such competition, and we talk about multiple offers, and people offer almost ridiculously high prices. They've lost out on other offers. I'm not losing out again. I want this house many thousand over. And then as a realtor, is that the new value for these homes? You know, you gotta be realistic. Yeah, so it's been an interesting challenge. Okay, so we'll see. So that's kind of some background about history and where we think we're going. Now, what does this mean for you as a potential seller? Okay? And some of you are more imminent as potential sellers. Some of you are, you know, not sure where you are. You're going to say, well, you know, it's going to be 3 or 4 years. But take the information and, you know, see what it says to you. So back to the timeline. What is your timeline? And really influenced by why are you wanting to make a move? I've had people who say, well, the prices are going up, so I'm going to let them keep going up. Okay, but, you know, how far is that going up? Or, well, you know, Samsung and these other, Apple, we all see this stuff coming up into this area, so I'm going to wait till the prices go higher. You may. It may happen. But we also know there's going to be more of a building boom to meet those needs. And I still think most important is what is your timeline? Why are you considering a move? Now, if it's just to make big money off the sale of your house, that's one thing. Most of the people I deal with and others I've listed with, okay, I'm going to do a little challenge here. Why do people like yourselves, I'm seeing seniors here, why do you think most people decide to sell and maybe move with family or move to an active adult apartment or independent living? Why do you think the reason people make that decision when they do make it?
Health.
Health? Mask, I can't see who's talking.
Health.
Oh, it's hi David, how are you? Okay. Health, okay, that's certainly one. What else?
Downsizing.
Okay, and what causes them to want to downsize?
Taking care of all that stuff. and home upkeep, house upkeep.
Yes, yes.
Peace of mind.
Good point, and that comes with the others. Were you here last month? That's what we talked about. You know, the whole idea of peace of mind. All of those, and they'll be retiring, a new chapter of your life. You know, COVID caused a lot of people to do rethinking. There were people I've been working with over a period of time. They were considering moving. They weren't sure when or where. But during the lockdown, and I go, you know, I kind of wanted to stay here because my friends are here, but maybe I need to go ahead and be closer to family. Your call, what works for you, but something to be considered. And so the reason I mention that is, okay, I might wait 2 years, I may make a lot more money on my house, but will I have had to continue worrying about the upkeep? I did a survey over the last 2 or 3 weeks and called a lot of people who had the privilege of working with and selling their homes. And just reviewing, especially now that I've had some time, what was your main reason? You know, why did you decide to do that? I really thought health was going to be number one, but it was that home maintenance was number one. I'm tired of taking care of my house.
Yeah.
I want to be more stress-free. You know, I don't want to go to the grocery store. Okay, people can deliver it to you, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do my meal preparation. Some people say, I want to prepare my meals, but I don't want to have to worry about my house upkeep.
Right.
And so that really is a consideration. And that's why I applaud people like you who are here to get information and you create your own plan, hopefully with your family too. So all of that is important. Understanding the market is important. You know, we have to, what is that old saying? We have to know understand our history, to look for the, you know, putting all that together, history, our past, future, and present times. I think unless you have it from current information, there can be that overreaction. Inflation, where's it going to go so high? Oh, let's get information, put it all into perspective, and you know, and I hope you know when the time is right to sell your house, that all has to be considered. It's not just okay, sell your house. I hope that all the decisions are based on strong, valid, accurate information. And this kind of loops together here. And I wanted to talk specifically about multiple offers because we're seeing that so much. Dr. Yun has been saying that we're probably that's going to slow down a little bit, which would really be good. But nevertheless, we need to know. There are a lot of rumors that float around there. So when we say you're in a multiple offer situation, your house has gone on the market, the house has gone, they've been showing, and people start sending in offers. And in our market, usually, when we have an offer, then most of us put a note in MLS so other people know we have received an offer. I've checked with my seller back to this Thursday to Monday deal. They will review all offers on Monday. You know, we often say you need to respond in 24 hours, but in this market, we often say, you know, like over the weekend. If we don't have a lot of offers, that's not going to be the point. But if we do, people, and then we use the term, submit your highest and best offer. And that's what it means. You know how you probably made offers on houses before, you know, and numbers would have been different, but say, okay, well, you know, it's listed at $350. You know, I'll offer $350, but you know, I want it. I would go higher. I would maybe go to $375 or something. Well, if that's your mindset in this market, if there's a call for highest and best, you need to go ahead and just give your highest and best if you really want that house. So, and it's not just the sales price they offer you. They're the other terms. Is it cash or is it finance? If it's financing involved, then we have to have an appraisal. We have to make sure the buyer is approved. But we're seeing a change now too. It's always, oh, well, cash is always going to overtake a loan, even if the loan offers more money. You gotta weigh the considerations here. So people have said, ooh, these prices are going up so high, what's happening with appraisals? Are they going up? A lot of times they are. But there's also an addendum, waiver of appraisals. And that's become very popular. It's one of our real estate documents. That someone, they don't want to use their cash, they want to get a loan, and so they, but they're good for it. And they say, we're waiving the appraisal. So even if that house does not appraise, they're buying the house. And, so, I liked your eyes, Kathy. When I'm presenting multiple offers, or even not an offer, but not multiple, but especially multiple, do they have the waiver of appraisal there? That's really important. Now, I just was in on a seminar a couple of days ago, and it was interesting with the lender explaining that these people have committed to buy this house, regardless of what it appraises. Now, on the buyer's side, when they're working with the lender, that may change the product they can use. They may have to, put more money down. But sellers, we're looking at, will they be able to buy that house? And so the waiver of appraisals is a very favorite addendum right now in our real estate market. One of the points that I encourage you to consider strongly with multiple offer, okay, let me finish the terms. So is it cash or finance? That's always an important term to be aware of. Closing date, do they want to close in 3 weeks? Do they want to close in 2 months? Well, you may not want to wait 2 months. So, there could be some negotiation there. We're also seeing items in the contract that are normally seller expenses. For instance, the title policy. That's when the title company ensures that, or the underwriter, that, it's a solid title. Usually it's been a seller expense. When I figure net sheets for sellers when we're listing, it's going to be an expense associated with the sale of your home. But now we often see the buyers saying, we'll pay for that. They're wanting to sweeten their offer. And they're hoping that not every other multiple offer says the same. But, okay, good. That's a savings to the seller if the buyer offers to pay for the title policy. Another similar one is if a survey is needed, then there can be $500 to $700. A lot of times, even if there's a buyer, if it's cash sale, they may forego the survey. If it's a loan, they have to have a survey. But they may say, we'll pay it. I don't want to take more money from the seller. I want to have a good offer. So that can be another one. Residential service contracts, the home warranties that most traditionally buyers have asked for. It's for 1 year from closing. If the water heater goes out, the dishwasher, the AC, it's through the home warranty or residential service contract. They don't call you Mr. Seller or Miss Seller and say the dishwasher won't work. You're out of that. They call the residential service contract. Usually it's a service fee of $75. The cost to the seller to offer that depends on the policy, the program, $550, $600 or more. But a lot of times buyers, nope, you don't have to provide that for me. If I want it, I'll take out my own. So there are other things than just the price that impact that. For those of you in HOAs, usually you have a resale certificate and a transfer fee. In whatever was a normal world, we would often try to split that transfer fee. But now we're seeing a lot of buyers, I'll pay for it. They're just wanting to increase the dollars to the seller. So those are things, if you have your house on the market and you're presented with an offer, those are things you will want to consider. Now I want to go back to another item on there, and that's the option fee. When a buyer makes an offer, yes, they tell you what they're willing to pay, what the sales price will be. And they put down earnest money. Often it's 1% of the sales price. So if I was putting down and offering $350,000, earnest money might well be $3,500. That goes to the title company. That's showing your commitment to buy. Assuming your sale goes through, that money is applied at the time of the sale. You've already put that much money down. Now, we have in Texas, and every state is different, we have what we call an option period and option fee. What the option period is a short agreed to time, usually 7 to 10 days, sometimes less in this competitive market. But the option gives the buyer the unrestricted right to terminate. Within that period of time, they can say, I had a dream, it's not the house for me, I'm out of here. They lose their option, you as the seller get the option fee, earnest money is returned to them. They have an inspection done. You can't come to agreement about repairs. We're out, we terminate, fine. Seller keeps the option fee, but earnest money is returned. Once you're out of that option period, like I say, usually 7 to 10 days, and it's in the contract, then the buyer, they're committed to buy the house. If they walk away from it, they lose their earnest money. Now, if they can't get loan approval, and there's some other little caveats in there. But the interesting part about the option fee is, say you were buyers, and I was working with you, and there was this house, I just have to have this house. Okay, so what all can we do? We'll offer a good price for it, it's a whole other discussion. We'll do the things we talked about. I'll pay the title policy, I won't ask for a residential service contract, I'll pay the transfer fee, and so on. I'm trying to make it as best as I can for the seller. Offering a high option fee really shows your commitment. Now, we've seen some cases where I just mentioned, like if the earnest money would probably be $3,500. If some people are really serious about wanting their property, they'll say, I'll give you $3,500 as option fee. I've got skin in the game then. If I change my mind in these 10 days, that $3,500 is gone. But if you're sure you're buying that, regardless, it goes a long ways in the eyes of the seller that this person is really serious. One of the reasons I've mentioned this so much in this market is we often have concerns. If someone comes in and offers a really, really, really high price, are you really serious? I know they've told us they love the house. I know they're pre-qualified. Case in point, I had one in Round Rock. It's under contract now. It needed some work done on it. It was listed at $335,000. In the first 4 days, we had 27 offers that range from below list price, like where are you people, to over $400,000, 420. So that's a lot of money over that price. And it sounded really good. They were pre-qualified, but there's still that feeling. I don't want them to. Originally, I think they offered us a $200 option fee. I told the seller, no, they've got to put more money into this. I don't want them just, we did it. We used to see times when people would put 2 or 3 offers in. I haven't seen it as much this situation, but you as a seller, you're taking your house off the market for that period of time, and you don't want that to happen. And so in this particular case, they offered us what I consider a smaller option. We got them up to $500. We'd like for it to have been more, but we said no. You're going to have to put more money into the game. It money is nice, but that doesn't tell me as much as if it's your money that you're not getting back. You know, so that's a little strategy. As a buyer, you can use, as a seller, you can always negotiate those terms, because we want to make sure that they're going to carry through. And along those lines, when people will say, I want to sell my house as is, okay, that's fine. As is can mean a lot of different things. Related to the condition of the home usually. You know, in this market, I really recommend people that your house be clean. I mean, we have a professional cleaner going. We even have carpets cleaned. See if we can get up some of those. Debbie's been in some of those traffic patterns, and sometimes we're able to get to look a lot better. At least it doesn't smell. And if you've ever been a buyer, you walk into a house where it feels dirty, you kind of feel yourself going like this, and I would rather they see it as clean. I mean, okay, but I don't replace the carpet. As soon as and this is, well, any house, I personally don't recommend it. Your buyer's going to, you put in new carpet, and 2 weeks later, after it closes, your neighbor's going to call you. You know that new carpet you put in? It's out by the street.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't think, because we don't know, do people want carpet, do they want wood, do they want tile? So, price it accordingly. You know, when we look at pricing houses, generally we see a range of comparables. We've got the ones up here that are ready to move in, you know, all upgraded, all, you know, what people are looking for now. We've got the one that's been a great home for 25 years. I've just chosen not to do any upgrades. Well, then you can't get the same price as a house that has the upgrades. And that's the reason we look at a price range. So, back to, yes, you can sell your house as is. The seller, the buyer is still going to have an inspection generally, although in this crazy market, some people have waived those too. I'd rather they have the inspection, at least know what they're buying. I don't, you know, then find out later that, oh, there was a problem, you know. And so, I know this one I mentioned around Rock. We'd said we're selling as is. We had already reviewed or disclosed some cosmetic things that just hadn't been taken care of. And yes, you have your inspection. Should someone have found something significant, you know, we'd have to consider it. You know, I got a chuckle out of this one. You know, 420 was nice. It's as is, as is. Okay. We're just going to have an inspection just to see. Fine, but send us a list of 33 items they wanted done. My seller, I said, as it, yeah, I know, I did too. So we very nicely wrote back and said, you know, and there weren't, I mean, I did review it. There was nothing structural, you know, there was, anyway, Debbie's been in there. But it's a lovely owner. She said, well, it was fine for me. I didn't need to have those things done. And we said, you know, we're selling the house as is. I expected to get a termination notice the next day. This is next to the last day of option. So I kept checking my email, and I'd already warned the seller, we may well get a termination. I don't care. And they didn't terminate. I guess they were just going to see if we were gullible, and we would do some of those repairs. We did not. So far, we're still closing next week. So
At 4:20?
Yes.
Whew.
And that's kind of scary. I mean, I could go on. There have been, yeah, I had one. Well,
Incredible.
and then I feel badly for people bidding and being more realistic. We had one, here's the jokes. This is at 320, 310, back in the fall, late summer. And we had, I don't know, 6 or 7 offers, 325, 350. And they don't know what other people are offering. They may ask me for a range and, well, if I bid 10% over, would I be in consideration? I'm looking at the offers. Yes or no? Depending on what's coming in. I said, as of today, I don't know what will come in tomorrow. to 400, and I shouldn't say we got to, because they didn't know what the other offers were. But 411,000, you know, but I think she had lost out on other bids, and she wanted this house, and she wasn't gonna lose it. I mean, I'm not her financial advisor, I don't know about that, but the sellers liked it, and we got it all taken care of. So that, hopefully that opened the question, or looked at multiple offers, and I think.
Next is downsizing club.
What's that?
Next is downsizing club.
Oh, okay. All right, so let me open it up now and see, do you have questions? Yes.
Would you address those companies like OfferPad and that offer to buy your house?
Yeah.
Are they reputable? I mean,
Reputable, what I am going to address is what often, you see all these special discounts, and we don't charge this, we just charge this. Be careful of fine print. We often see, our commission rate is very low. But then when you look at a settlement sheet, but then there's a fee for this, and there's a fee for that, and there's a fee for this. I know I had a house in Sun City a few years ago, lovely home, it hadn't been updated, it was a larger home and so on. We weren't on the greenbelt lot, but it just wasn't moving, to be quite honest. And Debbie worked with me on that one. I'm sweating it out. And so she got one of those offers, and I said, well, let's look at it and just see. I mean, it's been a long time. And we made some price adjustments. But it was, you will have an inspection, and our inspector, you will pay for, and you will do all repair, all things noted. So there are often catches. I think that's the best I can do. Also, and as I mentioned this with Beanie, who I'm fortunate to be in their training program, and iBuyers and all these special things we were seeing over the long run, people get information there, but I think both buyers and sellers, it's that personal relationship that people really want. There's some of those companies, their websites are great to use to find properties, but it's that one-on-one relationship with someone who is knowledgeable, trustworthy, caring about you as an individual. Now, if that's not important to you, that's your criteria, but anyway. Did that sort of answer your question?
yes.
Just beware of the fine print. Other questions?
Well, that same thing applies to these postcards you get in the mail.
Oh, yeah. You get all kinds of offers.
Let me go back to the very first statement you made about the analogy you put forth about buying all toilet paper in houses. So does that mean that people were buying houses just for investments?
Well, some were, and that's one of the things that, real estate is really a good investment. And so in some cases that was. But other cases, well, this may not really be the house I want, but it's on the market and it's my price range, I'm taking it. And that may work well, or you may say, why did I do that?
Frenzied buying.
Exactly.
Okay.
That you're right. And that's what we're seeing will slow down a little bit. Yeah, and there was some other economic stuff I could go into, but I'm gonna say that. Karen?
It seems like some houses in our area prices have jumped up dramatically because of all this stuff. Will those prices come back down and even out, or are we there for life?
That is such, what she was asking about her neighborhood, Serenata, I believe. And we're seeing these sometimes almost exorbitant prices. Is that our new baseline? She's saying, is that going to be where we build from, or is it going to come back down? Depends. I think how unrealistic. Yeah, maybe there was a slip of the tongue that was right. How unrealistic are those prices, or how realistic? So when I do a market analysis, I really have to look at that closely. So, this house sold for 410,000, 411. It seems out of line. Is that the new price? No. It's the anomaly because that woman wanted the house. I think we have to look at patterns. We're not gonna, housing market's not gonna go down, but we're not gonna jump up 14% either. You know, we see that kind of 3%. Does that answer your question, Karen? But that's the reason your realtor needs to look really carefully at comps to figure out the price or recommend the price. Will?
Yeah, so I was curious if they address, with our specific local area where we have these kind of organic factors of massive amounts of people quickly relocating here. We have Tesla coming online, we've got Samsung going online in Taylor, they're starting to build in Taylor, and all these different factors of Futures Command in Austin, all these different things that are driving people to our area. Do they kind of, is there any outlook on how is our housing market going to keep up with that, and what kind of supportive effect is that going to have on our prices, or is it going to continue to cause this kind of frenzied situation that we're looking at?
A really good question. What's going to be the impact of all these industries, businesses located in the Austin area? It depends, and the answer is some of all. Okay. For one thing, when I mentioned that overall they were seeing average prices would increase 3% this year, but Austin would probably be 4.5%. That I think is some of that buffer. What we're seeing the new home construction open back up. That's part of our low supply it had been so down, and then COVID took it further down, and now the shortage of workers takes it down. So that's been a challenge to keep up. But we are, because of that very reason, we're going to see more and more building going on. So resale homes will be competing more with more new construction too. Did that?
That it does, and actually I have a few friends that actually in the new home sales business, and what they're looking at is the challenge of even being able to build right now, finding crews to do the work, materials, all those different factors that are making it. They're having some of their worst sales years ever because it's like, I can sell like gangbusters, but I have nothing to sell.
Right. Or if you're willing to wait a year for your new home, whereas it used to be 4 or 6 months,
Right.
but for these reasons, not able to get supplies and workers and so on.
Kind of like cars.
Yeah. Over here.
Yeah, I have a two-part question. Actually, I have two questions, but the first one is, how many people on average, just in Sun City, pay cash? More or less? I mean, your best guess.
How many are cash buyers, yes,
In Sun City?
Anywhere. A sizable number, but that's really influenced too by what's going on with interest rates.
Right.
Do I want to leave my money invested, or do I want to take out a loan? So, a sizable number. I've been surprised this year. I've seen more loans. And I wanted to mention that some people say, oh no, it's going to be like that bubble that's going to crash. No, when we had the real estate bubble a few years ago, loans were very easy to get. My husband was waiting in the car for me after one closing, and wonderful family. I was glad they got the home. They got money back at closing because of all these generous offers. But deep down there is that concern, are they really going to be able to make the monthly payments, But those loan restrictions have tightened up. This is not a bubble. So that was one thing I just wanted to mention about that.
So the second part of that question is, when they do pay cash, does that really allow the closing to be faster?
Yes, yeah, a cash sale can close much faster because part of the escrow, that time between contract and closing, if it's a cash sale, it's usually 4 to 6 weeks. We had gotten them down to 3 weeks, but then the lenders were just overrun and they needed more time, so it was often a 4 to 6 weeks. If it's a cash sale, you can close in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The longest thing, if the title company gets the papers ready, and a number of you in Sun City, it takes 10 business days to get the information from the HOA. So, you know, we usually allow 16 days minimum. Now, if someone has all their belongings in a trailer and they're ready to move in and the house is vacant, we can do a rush on those HOA
Okay.
documents and we can get a house closed in less than a week.
Huh.
If, you know, if that is necessary. But yes, a cash sale will go faster.
And I have another question. Talking about the comps, so if you have a lot of people, you said that overbidding would not reset the comps for an area or a neighborhood.
Extreme overbidding.
But you're talking about if everybody is overbidding, say for a year or even 6 months, does that actually reset the comps?
And that is kind of a two-part answer.
Good.
Really resetting the comps, so people know that's what's going on, so they make their own, they want to go ahead and pay a higher price than what they might need to pay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to follow.
It's squirrely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, I mean, like I said, yeah, okay, Cordelia, then I'll come back there.
How realistic are the Zillow appraisals that you see? Are they really inflated or are they really?
Don't count on them. We can give you some sites. Also, you know, I'm happy to meet with people with consultations and we can look at comps and so on. Just beware Zillow, it's not accurate necessarily.
But I just tell them, say it how they call
I don't know that we can really tell a pattern.
You may not know the answer to this, but I was just curious. I moved here from North Texas. I had never heard of a mud district.
Oh, yeah.
Is that peculiar to the Central Texas area, or is the statewide situation?
She's asking, she moved here from North, where in North Texas?
Rockwell?
Oh, okay, just curious, I used to live in Sherman area. She moved here from North Texas, she's asking about the mud district, municipal utility district. Where do you live here?
Gerald?
Oh, okay.
Sonterra?
Yeah, okay. And that has to do with money that was loaned to these developments and how it's paid back. I think it's across the state. It's just the particular area you live in. And I can't remember, so I don't think Woods Fountain, I don't think you're in a mud. I don't know, but anyway, but it's all over, but it's pockets. Has to do with the way that area was developed, my understanding. Other questions?
I'll tag on to the Zillow question and any of the online stuff. Do you get buyers and or sellers that really get hung up on those numbers?
Oh, some do. And, you know, yes, my home's worth this much, that's what Zillow says. Well, let's look at the comps from the Board of Realtors and what things are really selling at, and look at how your house compares to these. So, yeah, we got, education's important.
Where do your county appraisals come into all of that when you're done?
Yes, okay, yeah, the appraisers will be out and, you know, we'll start that whole round again. You know, we want the appraisal to be low when we're living there, 'cause, you know, that's great. When you're ready to sell your house, go on, get that appraised value up, looks good for me. The appraised value from the tax district is separate from, not necessarily related to our actual sales of homes. Texas is a non-disclosure state. Especially if someone has moved in their first year, then when your taxes come out in your new home, and if it says your home is so much, you go, well, I only paid this much. Then take your settlement statement and let them see that. Now, if it's reversed, you may want to be quiet. But, I mean, and sometimes we could even, well, we had a little bit of one of the seminar last year about the appraisal, but we might do some more about that. But it's separate from what we see as the real estate sales reporting.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I bought a piece of property adjacent to mine and paid this amount, and they were charging me this amount per acre. And I took it into them, and they said, oh, okay, we'll adjust that. Well, that's been like 10 years ago, but they did.
Well,
Because it was a joint piece of property.
if you have some kind of documentation like that,
Yeah.
you know, and I know other people, you know, in the spring, or, you know, when you can challenge your value, and often they'll reach out to realtors, could you give me current comps? It seems to me over the years that they're becoming closer to what is real estate prices, but there's sometimes, because when I go in to meet with somebody about listing their house or the possibility, I look at the tax records, just as a ballpark figure. And then, you know, oh, yeah, that we're kind of in line. Oh, where in the world did that come from? Too high, too low. I want us to focus on what the market is paying, which means what are people paying at this time for the most comparable property we can find. John?
I was gonna pick up on what this gentleman just said. Our church ran into that several years ago, where one of our neighbors offered us a lot at a kind of a somewhat high price, and what they were trying to do was establish the market, because they owned 14 more acres. And so if they got X dollars out of that lot, every other lot in there went up. So they offered our church an extremely attractive loan, interest-free, to carry it for 3 years to get that high price. And then the rest of the 14 acres started selling off at that high price. So a lot of commercial guys know how to play a game with that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know that transfers into the real estate or not, but there's games played like that, especially up and down the high traffic areas like Williams Drive.
And maybe larger tracts and development and that, but something to be aware of. Other questions? Don, you're being quiet today.
Nothing to say.
There, yeah, Kathy.
This 3 to 5% expected growth going forward, does that take into consideration the increase in
The increase in interest rates, yes. With that in mind, yes. And if some of you, we have your feedback. Oh, yeah, I didn't quite explain the binder. Your little plastic sleeve that had today's handouts in there. Give a shout out to Brielle. Brielle, would you please stand up? She's my materials together, and in there is the evaluation. Is it a half sheet again?
Yes, ma'am.
A yellow half sheet. We love to get feedback. We're not finishing, but I'm going to mention it. Feedback from you, or if you need additional information. If you are a statistics junkie and want some more resources, we can give that to you. Just let us know that. Yeah, so that it does, you know, while it seems dramatic, the 3 to 3.7, when we used to, you know, be so much higher, it does make an impact, no doubt. But that was all. They have amazing statistics they draw from the National Association of Realtors and the economists who work on that. Really do.
I have a question.
Yes, Giselle.
It's sort of different. I'm trying to stay in my house.
Right.
I probably will have to sell it within a couple of years. I don't have a water softener. Should I spend money on that and do it for myself, or?
Giselle was saying in her current home, she does not have, she was using this as an example. She thinks she'll probably be selling in a couple of years. She mentioned the example of a water softener. She does not have a water softener. She's wondering, should she go ahead and put one in, so it would be in, and she would get to benefit from it until she moves. And you know what I really appreciate about your question, Giselle, is that part right there. You know, if you're going to do home improvements, enhancements to sell your home, I hope you do them in time to enjoy them yourself. You know, especially in this market, I wouldn't, I would put out a clean house, and, I wouldn't do a lot more. Now, when we have a lot of competition on the market, and, there are 15 other houses just like yours, what else can we do to be the shiny penny on the block? But that's not what we have right now. Water softeners, people like them, but the importance, if you want one to enjoy, then that's...
Do it.
I want one to cut the expense on the plumbing. My
Oh,
water is
exactly.
just terrible.
Okay. Then go invest in a water softener and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy money savings. Other questions? Okay. Yes.
Years ago, I was looking for a house, and I walked into one of the bedrooms, and there was somebody sleeping in the bed.
Yeah, you know, I've had that happen. It's not fun. You know, we try to make arrangements. Oh, but that kind of reminds me of a point people often ask. Is it better to sell my house while I'm living in it or not? I know we've grown up with the, oh, houses sell so much better when they're furnished. One school of thought. My recommendation is that you move first and then put your house on the market, especially in a market like this where it's moving quickly. The reason I say that is, now, some of you have homes that look just like HGTV, they're beautiful and everything is in place, 24 hours a day. Okay, and there have been situations where we do sell homes when people are living there. There's another group of us, my home is my comfort place right now, and maybe my recliner is really worn, but it's comfortable for me, or this or that related. So it works fine for you, but when a buyer comes in, they don't have the same appreciation for that. So I think we can often, and also, especially if you have any kind of health challenges, do you want to have to run out of your house with a 30-minute notice? I mean, we can tell them to, plan ahead, and most realtors are good at that. But still, having to keep your house ready for showing, sorry folks. When your house is on the market, if you really want it to sell, it's like you're camping out in it. You gotta keep it ready to show. And so that's now I know when it was taking much longer to sell houses, then I know there was, especially if someone was buying another house and they needed that money, that's another situation. I had people this fall, they're moving into a CCRC, they had to have the money from their house for their down payment there. So in that case, we went ahead and put it on the market so we could get it to all fall into place, which fortunately we did. But schools that run, my usual thing is I think it's better, and that just made me think about it. The days are not feeling well and you don't want people coming in your house or so on. Yes?
Yeah, so along those lines, do you recommend having the empty home staged? And if so, how much staging? I mean, like a couple of plants or some furniture and a rug. I mean, our house is all tile, and so it looks really barren when it's empty.
She's asking about staging. And by staging, we're talking about putting in decorative items to enhance the show of the house. There are groups who will offer to stage, and they will bring in furniture and so on and so on. And you can pay for it. I don't think that's necessary. As a realtor, when I'm working with people, I do what I call a light staging. We put in decorative items just to enhance the appearance. If you just keep seeing rooms with white walls, it just doesn't do much for you. And I don't mean just stick a plant in the corner. But if we put a plant and a table, especially, I love doing bathrooms and kitchens, that's fun. And especially when we can put in some little jovial thing, and you see people, it kind of puts a smile on their face. It slows them down to look at it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's just a service I provide my sellers. Why enhances the showing? Also influenced by the market. Again, if we're on a market that's, we may have to do more staging, but this market's put a clean house out there, I think has some color. I'm looking at Debbie, she's well aware that it's worked with me on some. Just so people, it makes the house more memorable. And it looks better in the pictures too, rather than just institutional off-white colors throughout. Okay. I want to thank you all for the questions, and if you have other more specific questions to your situation, feel free to talk with me afterwards. I wanted to mention to you, as I often do, our downsizing club. Over the time, I have a lot of people say, okay, well, maybe I'm moving this year, or maybe I'm moving before September, or I'm moving, you know, so we started a downsizing club. We meet monthly. It's focused on downsizing, whereas our seminars are broad topics. But for the downsizing club, and it's a small group, right now 8 to 10 people, and Brielle facilitates those with me, and we share information, and it's a support group. People share what they're working on. People share a lot of neat resources, and it's become a fun group. Cheryl Heltney has been in our group. Cornelia, see, I knew of Cordelia, so always have to stop. Cornelia is joining us. I think Pat's going to be joining us. But like I say, it's a support group. We provide some additional materials to help you with downsizing and looking at space and all of that. But it's first Thursday of each month. We do meet back at First Presbyterian. And there is a $200 fee, and the reason there is a fee, we provide a lot of materials. In fact, we provide a neat book about downsizing, and you get another binder, like binders these days, to keep your information, but we also share content each month. And so there's definitely an investment on our part to provide you those resources. Then if you decide to list your home, you get a rebate, so it doesn't cost you at the end. But anyway, if you want more information about the Downsizing Club, visit with me, visit with Brielle. We have a brochure, I don't know if it's in your packet, but on our Seniors Living Smarter Services table, where Debbie will be, there's a flyer about the Downsizing Club. Okay, so just want to mention that to you.
Was that money reimbursed somehow?
Yeah, that's why I said when we list their home, they get a rebate. I write them back a check for $200. So you've helped us out by getting your stuff ready and have a good sale of your home and a good move. That's what we wanted to do. The purpose of the Downsizing Club is to try to reduce the stress. And we've had some great testimonials about that. We started last May. One woman, her move was already pretty well underway. Well, anyway, she moved in August. Well, I think the club became a catalyst for her to go ahead and make the decision. We had another couple who moved. They joined us for just a few months, and they were able to make their move. One just moved to Grand Living earlier this month, and her house is on the market now. The club was important for her because she was sorting through, am I going to go? She has her immediate family, but I'm going where my niece lives in Houston. Am I going to stay here where my doctors are? And everybody sets their own goals of what you're working on. Hers was kind of to make her decision. She did, and we introduced her to a community, and the move management group will be working with her in 2 weeks, and then she moves the following week, and then her house goes on the market 2 weeks later. So, Downsizing Club, they all say it's a great support. So if you get more information, let us know. And next month, and I forgot to tell Jeff Grant, thank you. Jeff can wait too. Jeff has ended up wearing many more hats. He's become our tech person. He's our marketing person too, so we appreciate that. And the question about downsizing, or whatever we were just on, very appropriate. Next month's seminar will focus on downsizing. Kind of the big picture, actually more on the move management part. But that will be March 10th. And so you have a list of all the seminars in your book. If you were here last month and you got your binder, we had the August meeting scheduled for August 11th. The conflict came up, so we moved it to August the 4th. But I think Brielle had corrected sheets. But if you have an old binder, August meeting will be on August the 4th, not our second Tuesday. Yes, David.
You are still filming these, right?
Yes, we do not broadcast live, but we do record them, thanks to Jeff, and he will edit it and put it on the website next week. So you can go back. Since Zoom started, we have all of them, that's when we started recording. One of the silver linings of Zoom was realizing that the number of people who could attend, who could not attend live sessions, because of mobility issues or caregiving issues, so it was nice we connected. We've reduced some of the mobility issues with our move here, but they are recorded and are up on the website. Any other?
And the website is?
SeniorsLivingSmarter.com. We're revising, we're revamping the website, so it will be changing over a period of time. The seminars that go to the blog, in the navigation bar across the top, blog, and it has all of the recordings on it.
Perfect, perfect.
Then if you get lost, you probably on.
Brielle, yeah.
Brielle.
Brielle is the answer to everything. Yeah. And, oh, I did have to give another shout out, thank you. Don Harper in the back of my husband who supports and puts up with all this and listens, and so anyway. Well, I do hope you fill out your yellow sheet, and if we can help you, if you see, I think I really want to find out about, what it would be for me to consider moving, or, consider selling my home. I'm glad to meet with you, do a consultation, it's a complimentary consultation. And yeah, when you're ready to sell, we'd love to work with you. And you have friends who you think would be interested in inviting to seminars, or we'd love to visit. So I want to thank you for being here. Enjoy the sunshine. Brielle has a basket out on the table for you to put the forms in, and I'll be around to talk to you. So I'm going to let Will and Holly and Debbie head over to their tables, and then we will be ready to go, and you can find who you need to get more information.